We're doing a Disney Channel TV show tier list. Here I have every Disney show that I remember. And I'm not ranking them based on like nostalgia or anything. Like this is literally all that this is I am sitting here and I'm ranking these based off of how good the show is. If it's a quality show and as an adult, could I enjoy it is also pretty important. So first up, we have Crash and Bernstein. And so Crash and Bernstein's pretty infamous for being shit, which it was. Crash and Bernstein is fucking god-awful. But I do not think that it's the worst of the worst. You know, it's bad, but it's not the worst of the worst. We'll put it in E. I think E is overall pretty fucking safe. Next up, we've got I'm in the Band. This is my first ever Disney XD show ever. I remember staying up late and Disney XD shows played on Disney, which was weird because this was like the beginning of Disney XD. And so there was like this whole thing of like they'd play them late at night to get you to want to watch Disney XD, which was weird. And so I'm in the Band. I remember being on at like midnight on any fucking day of the week. And it was like a Disney XD show, but it was on Disney all the time. But I have fond memories with it. But that doesn't make it good. It's still horrible. This show still is ass. E, right up next to Crash and Bernstein. I think that's fair. It might even be worse, honestly. But I don't want to start with F tier. Let's keep it positive for now. Next up, we've got Kickin' It. Kickin' It was great. What was the hot girl's name? Olivia Holt. Olivia Holt. I thought she was really hot. And so it was really good. It's not C tier. It did have some storyline to it, which I appreciated. The jokes were funny for being a kid at the time. And even now, I think I can still watch it and enjoy it. Kickin' It's getting an A tier. Next up is Fish Hooks. Fish Hooks was actually made by a couple of the Rick and Morty guys. And it turned out pretty good. A lot of people don't really like it that much. But Oscar sounds like Morty. That's a little Easter egg for you. Because I do believe Justin Roiland voice acted Oscar in the show. Very good show. I remember the humor being off. I like to think of it as kind of like the precursor to The Amazing World of Gumball. I think that if we didn't have Fish Hooks, we wouldn't appreciate Gumball as much as we do now. And I think that was very important. It was very much like, it mixed a lot of stop motion with cartoons, and it would use like real photos and stuff. And some of the animation would be super realistic and stuff. And it was just very ahead of its time when Gumball came out years later on Cartoon Network, having a lot of those same gimmicks, but just doing them better. But overall, Fish Hooks, pretty good show. I still appreciate it to this day. I love it. It gets a solid B tier. Mr. Young. Mr. Young was a show about a kid who taught class. And he was like the youngest teacher or whatever. Dude was like a genius. It didn't run for very long. I feel like a lot of people like don't remember it when they're thinking of Disney shows. And then you mention it. It's, oh shit. Like, yeah, I know. And I remember when I was researching for this list, Mr. Young didn't even like, I read the name and I was like, what is that? And then I looked it up and I saw the picture and I'm like, oh yeah, of course. Like I know that one. And it was not that good. It wasn't horrible. It's not Crash and Bernstein level. I wouldn't even say it's D tier. C. Very average, middle of the road. And I like to think that it was another thing of kind of like what's to come. Like I think it's set up for what Disney XD was going to be. The Disney Channel shows were all very like normal. And it was like, okay, there's a family who lives here. And here's a twist, you know? But I feel like Disney XD started with stuff like I'm in the Band, which was just a kid who was in a band, which obviously not very strange for that. But then you have stuff like Kickin' It, which is this karate epic. And you've got this thing such as Mr. Young, where a kid teaches a class, and Crash and Bernstein, where this kid is best friends with a puppet. Like it seemed to set up for like Disney XD was supposed to be this weird thing. Next up, Austin and Ally, the classic. Everybody on this planet remembers Austin and Ally. It was good. It was pretty good. It was very good, honestly. And it went for a long time. It spawned the star that is
Ross
Austin
Lynch.
Des went on to be a pretty good actor, and everything that I see him in, I'm usually impressed about. It does kind of fall off towards the latter seasons. If they cut it one or two seasons early, easy A tier. I'm going to have to put it in B with fishhooks. Next up, we've got Good Luck Charlie. Good Luck Charlie is also a classic. I remember this being like my first real Disney Channel show, like getting into like my first live action one. And it went on for a long time, and at no point did I ever remember getting bored. Easy S tier. I don't think that I have to even try to justify myself. That might be the easiest pick of the night, honestly. S tier for Good Luck Charlie. Is like, of course. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think anybody's really surprised by that, you know? Next up, we've got Dog with a Blog. Now, Dog with a Blog, I remember being, like, big. Like, that show was, like, much bigger than I feel like I thought that it would be. I thought it was just going to be a niche show that got a couple seasons and that was it, but it ended up being a very long-running show. The ending was actually really, like, it was weird, but it was good, and I appreciated it. That they kind of did the happily ever after, like, with a twist, kind of, you know what I mean? Spoiler alert for Dog with a Blog, but at the end, they find out that Stan can talk. The FBI comes in or whatever, and they become, like, celebrities, which was weird. They get, like, a TV show. I remember it being different, and, like, I really liked that. I liked how different the show was and how different it felt, and for that, it's getting an A tier from me. Next up, we've got Liv and Maddie. Liv and Maddie is another very good show. At some point, they move out to LA. And that when they move out to LA, it was not good. And I remember the jokes being corny at times, but that was okay. You know, I feel like I wasn't expecting a ton from Liv and Maddie. I was just expecting it to be a Disney show, and it was. And it exceeded my expectations a little bit because when Liv and Maddie was coming out, I felt that I was kind of like starting to get bored. You know, a lot of the Disney shows that I was liking were starting to slow down. And Liv and Maddie came in, and I was like, okay, like whatever. Like, of course I'm going to watch it. You know, it's a Disney show. Of course I'm going to watch it. And I remember being pleasantly surprised by it. So it is really good. I do not think that I'm going to give it a B tier. It's not quite A, but it is a very good Disney show. Gravity Falls. Gravity Falls is renowned as one of the best Disney Channel shows ever to ever exist. I do not like it as much as everybody else does. I know there were a lot of people who like bought the books and stuff, and I thought it was really good. I did, but you know, I feel like it ended very abruptly. And I feel like they didn't really get a hold of what they were trying to do with the show until like halfway through. And when they did, it turned out really good. And even before they did, it turned out really good. I just didn't, I wasn't a fan of like the switch of like vibes in between the seasons, you know what I mean? Like it just changed. And all of a sudden it was like a lot more serious. And I appreciated that. It was weird. You know, I don't know if I appreciated it as much at the time as I do now. But even then, it's still, I think it's just kind of okay. No, I don't think it's just kind of okay. I'm bullshitting. I'm lying right now. I think the show's great. I think the show is either high A or low S. We're going to put it in S because it is really good. I just like, for cartoons, you can do so much. You know, we look at something like Adventure Time or regular show, and it's very clear that Cartoon Network kills it when it comes to cartoons. And so seeing what you could do with the cartoon medium, I feel like Gravity Falls didn't really do that until about halfway through. It's weird to imagine Gravity Falls as like a live action show. I don't think they ever could have made it a live action show, but I feel like they didn't need the cartoon medium as much as they acted like they did, kind of. And so it is still stellar. That's just my only criticism with it, but it's still great, especially for a Disney show. Next up, we've got Labrets, and Labrets is another great one. Labrets was another Disney XD show that I loved. We moved in with my mom's boyfriend, and he had Disney XD, and Labrets was like premiering at that time. And I remember, well, we didn't move in with him, but we were going over there a lot. But I remember watching like every episode and just loving it, like being in love with the storyline and like everything about it. Like Labrats was just spectacular. Uh, and I remember like they had storylines in it and stuff, and it was like weird, and it started to get like convoluted and stuff. And it did fall off a little bit when they hit the island, but it didn't fall off hard enough for me to give it a significant drop. Disregarding the island seasons, it would probably be S. Because of those island seasons, I'm dropping it down to an A. It'll probably end up being a high A when we order it. It's just not quite an S. It's not a perfect show in my eyes. Not that these two are, but these two are significantly better than I think Lab Rat's kicking it. You know, I think it belongs in A tier. We got Boy Meets World up next. Boy Meets World was actually before my time, but that being said, I do still remember watching it, and I appreciated it. I liked it, and I enjoyed it, especially with, we got Girl Meets World somewhere in here. I'm not sure where, but, and I thought, yeah, I mean, it's good. You know, I wouldn't say it's like spectacular. It's not an S. It's not even an A. I would say that I enjoy Boy Meets World as much as I enjoy maybe these Liv and Maddies, these Austin and Allie, stuff like that. Casey Undercover. Now, Casey Undercover was Zendaya's next big role after Shake It Up. And I remember seeing it and being excited. I liked Zendaya's work in Shake It Up. I thought that she was good. Casey Undercover, I believe, is the first Disney Channel show to center around a black family. Which is also huge, but as much as this show did, helping turn Zendaya into a superstar, it just is not that great. Is it Crash and Bernstein bad? Is it I'm in the Band bad? No. I'd put it around Mr. Young. It is just not a great show, honestly. And Mr. Young, honestly, move that down to D tier. Fuck Mr. Young. I don't know what I was thinking putting that up in C. Casey Undercover is significantly better than Mr. Young. Next up, we've got Jessie. Now, the thing about Jessie is that it was really good throughout the entire thing. The ending was great. The only issue with Jessie, I would say, is that although it was good from front to back, it just was not as good as Gravity Falls and Good Luck Charlie. It remained its quality throughout the entire thing, which was impressive for it, but it's not good enough for me to give it an S tier. So we're going to have to stick that one in A. Realistically, like, it does not touch these, you know. This felt like you got to watch a family grow, and you get to watch like PJ find his passion and stuff like that. And Jessie, it's just kind of the characters stay the same throughout the entire thing. There's a little bit of progression, but just not much. Jessie was just a much simpler show than these ones were, and that's why it does not make it up there. I didn't do it. Ran for maybe 2 seasons max. I think it only ran for 1 though. But the cast was all right. They had a good cast. But the show just was not that great. I really liked that they told everything in flashbacks. I thought that was pretty good. It's a D tier. Also, yeah, move Crash and Bernstein and I'm in the Band down. We are getting rid of this E tier because it's not even necessary, because Crash and Bernstein and I'm in the Band is probably as bad as we're getting. So Best Friends Whenever, that was towards the end of my Disney era. And so I can't really say too much about it, but I did watch all of it. This is one of the last Disney shows that I actually watched through, which was cool. Yeah, I mean, it was good. They actually had like storylines and stuff, which I appreciated. They stayed consistent. I don't know if I would say that it's like this good. You see, this is tough. Actually, yeah, it's as good as Casey Undercover. Which I know I kind of talked shit on Casey Undercover. It's not that it's bad. I appreciated Casey Undercover. I'm kind of just talking out of my ass right now. I don't know what I'm saying half the time. I did like Best Friends Whenever more, so it's probably going to end up looking something like that. Casey Undercover was like a quality show that just wasn't for me. Best Friends Whenever, I feel, was the same quality, and I just enjoyed it a little bit more. And Casey Undercover, I think I just didn't enjoy it as much, and that's okay. Next up, we've got Mighty Med. Mighty Med was spectacular aside from one simple thing. They ended that hoe on a cliffhanger, and they didn't even try to clean it up for Labret's Elite Force, which we'll be ranking next. They just kind of like rolled with it, which was so weird to me, to just like cut it off. And then in Labret's Elite Force, they're like, oh yeah, well, this is what happened. What? And it's not even like, I don't know. Not good. I do not appreciate it at all. But Mighty Med was great. A really good show, aside from it ending on a cliffhanger. And even then, the rest of it was so quality that it is still an S tier, even with that cliffhanger there. And we're going to actually see later on that some of the best Disney shows end with cliffhangers, a little bit of a spoiler warning for what is to come. Labret's Elite Force. Now, this is such an interesting show. Labrats meets Mighty Med. You would think Labrats is A tier, Mighty Med is S tier. A combination of the two has to be high S or low S, high A, at least, right? Labrat's Elite Force was dog. I give it like a D. It was not that good. It took itself way too seriously for what it was. And I think it was Adam. And he got snubbed, which sucked because Adam was very good in the original. In Labrats, Adam was goated. Adam was, one of my favorite characters. I liked him more than I liked Chase. Bree was hot, so I kind of liked her a lot as well. Labrats only gets a D. Not a big fan. Next, we got Lizzie Mcguire. What? What a weird show. So that is a show that was kind of before my time. A little bit, to an extent. Not like all the way before my time. Like I still like was aware of it, obviously. But I'm going to put it at a... No, it gets a B. The animated stuff was very cool. To have the cartoon Lizzie Mcguire, I think that stuff was sick. The show was good, and I think it's set up for stuff like Hannah Montana. Next, we have Randy Cunningham, ninth grade ninja. I really don't remember this show that much. I do remember it enough to judge it and tell you that I did not like it, and I'd give it a D tier. Sweet Life on Deck. Sweet Life on Deck is another classic Disney show. Great continuation of the Sweet Life franchise. I would say that I have better memories with On Deck than I do Zach and Cody. But they were both spectacular. The Sweet Life on Deck, I think, watching these characters that you knew from Sweet Life of Zach and Cody and watching them graduate and go through high school and tackle relationships and stuff like that, it's just a really cool thing to do. And for that, I think it gets an S. I don't think that's an unpopular opinion to give Sweet Life on Deck an S. I think it's a great show. I think it's amazing. Best of Disney, damn near easily. Yeah, S tier. That's all that I can really fucking say about it. Sweet Life of Zach and Cody, on the other hand, still a great show. Just not quite as good. A tier. I don't think that they dealt with the themes that... Well, I know they didn't because they were kids. They weren't going through high school and stuff. And so they didn't deal with the themes on there, and I think it's very good when Disney tackles themes like that. You know, I really like that. We look at Good Luck Charlie. We look at, not as much Mighty Med. Sweet Life on Deck. Stuff like that, I like it when they tackle actual themes. You know what I mean? And it's not just like, oh, here's a funny show. I like it when they sit down and they're like, okay, let's make this character learn a lesson. You know, they are going to learn a life lesson here. And we're going to make it funny, of course, but, it's going to be a hardship that the character goes through. And the character's choices have actual consequences. And that's what I really like. And Sweet Life of Zach and Cody, it didn't have that. You know what I mean? Everything was resolved by the end of the episode. Kirby Buckets. Kirby Buckets was a show about a kid who liked to draw. D tier. It's not great. It's not horrible. It's just not very good. Cory in the House. Of course, a classic. Good show. Quality show. I think people don't like this show. There are so many shows that are better than it, and it's going in C tier. Because I know how many more shows that like I appreciate and like and enjoy more than I like Cory in the House. You know what I mean? Yeah, spin-offs just don't have a good history on Disney Channel. And that's okay. That's fine. It's just... I don't want to watch them because they all suck. Pair of Kings is up next. I do have a soft spot for Pair of Kings. I did really enjoy it. This was another one that I was watching alongside Labrets. At my mom's boyfriend's house watching Disney XD. I'm aware that the show's not the best. They switch out one of the kings halfway through, and it gets really bad after that. Overall, Pair of Kings is just a C tier. Very average, very middle of the road. Good, not great. Next up is Ant Farm. Ant Farm was another Disney show that, like, all these I have such fond memories with. China McClain became huge out of this, and when they switched schools to, like, the big one, it's one of the only relocations in Disney Channel that went over well. And I think that the show didn't lose any quality from it. The later seasons are just as good as the old ones, you know, as the early seasons. They're all good. There's no drop off point of Ant Farm in my eyes. And yet I think it had higher quality than Jessie. I do think that Ant Farm is an S tier show, honestly. But next up is Hannah Montana. I'm a little bit of a Hannah Montana hater. Do I think it's bad? Of course not. It's Hannah Montana. But do I think it was a great show that deserves all the praise that it gets? Of course not either. This deserves a C tier. It's perfectly middle of the road. It's average. That's So Raven. I got bullied for this show being out, and it wasn't even like my fault. It's just because my name is also Raven, and they used to say that to me and like bully me about it, like as if I got to choose my name, and like as if I made this show. D tier. Bunked was interesting. Bunked was the Jessie kids get shipped off to a thing middle of nowhere, and for some reason they adapt super quickly and become entirely new characters. They're not even the same characters, and then one of them leaves, I think. Not great. Not a great show. Oh, Bunked was just okay. It had its size, so I'm not going to give it an F tier. I will give it D, though. So Random, the spinoff of Sunny with a Chance. Horrible. F tier. Trash. Sunny with a Chance will rank next. Sunny with a Chance was good. Like I said, all the So Random you could possibly ever fucking want in your life was in So Random. Or in Sunny with a Chance. Not So Random. So Random shit. Sunny with a Chance was good, though. You know, Demi Lovato became a star off this. Disney's produced a lot of stars in their time. And I really liked Sunny with a Chance. I don't think I like it as much as I did then. I think it's a B tier. Okay, Wizards of Waverly Place. Another S tier. Easy. I don't think I have to fucking explain. Shake It Up. Shake It Up's good. I don't think Zendaya was a very good actor when Shake It Up started. She wasn't bad, but she was very much a Disney actor. I thought Shake It Up was good. It wasn't great, though. It wasn't great, but I think that it was the start of a good era. Shake It Up was good. I don't have a huge issue with it at all. It wasn't great, but it was pretty good. If I don't have like nostalgia for it, I think like with nostalgia for it, I think it's A or B. Without the nostalgia, I think it's B or C. And I think it's probably highest C, if I'm going to be honest with you. Wander Over Yonder was interesting. They played it between like commercials. Like I don't think that was like a real show. You know what I mean? But I enjoyed it for sure. I thought that it was a good, interesting show. And I don't know where I would put it, but I think that it was definitely good. A lot of people hate this show. I appreciate it. I liked what it did. I thought that it was entertaining, and that's all that a show is really supposed to be, right? Wander Over Yonder is probably C. I'm going to give it C. Bizarre Aardvark, on the other hand, gave us Olivia Rodrigo, and that's about it. The rest of it was very bad, because it also gave us Jake Paul. F tier. Phineas and Ferb was spectacular. That's all that I really have to say about it. I think it's pretty, like, it speaks for itself. You know, if you don't think Phineas and Ferb is S tier, just go watch it again, because it is, and you're wrong. Phineas and Ferb never had a weak moment. And I appreciated that about the show. Girl Meets World. Very good show. Not better than Boy Meets World, but very good. I'm going to give it a B tier. I like that entire show was like what I like, where they've got like more continuous storylines and they are actually like tackling shit, and the kids, like, their actions matter, you know, and I appreciate that in a show. And so Girl Meets World, I think, is very good. It seemed a little repetitive, a little predictable, but at the same time there were enough twists to keep you engaged. Even Stevens was very good. Gave us Shia LaBeouf. It was just funny, it was entertaining, and for that I am going to give it an A. I think it was about as funny. It was like Sweet Life of Zach and Cody. Next up, we've got Zeke and Luther. I remember this show fondly, but I should not because it's not good. It's F tier. Pretty easily, I think. Zeke and Luther is like a memory that I remember very well, but like it's not good. The show's just bad. It's not a good show. Next up is Jonas with the Jonas Brothers. I'd hate to say it, another F. Very much not a good show. Lilo and Stitch, the show. The movie, obviously, stellar, spectacular. But Lilo and Stitch, the show, was also pretty good. I don't think it was as good as the movie, because the movie was a little bit more concise. And it felt like it was just supposed to be a movie, and then they just made a show out of it. But it was pretty good. It was entertaining. It was cute. Stitch is goated. Shout out to Stitch. That one gets a B tier. That one gets a B tier. It's not as good as these ones. But yeah, like, it's a good show, and I think, like, Austin and Ally Fishhooks, Liv and Maddie, that's, like, exactly where Lilo and Stitch belongs. Phil of the Future, I don't really remember too much, honestly. I put it on here for kind of no reason. I don't really remember anything about this show. You know, I remember it being good. And for that, I'm giving it a C tier. Because I barely remember it. Kim Possible, same as Lilo and Stitch. I think Kim Possible and Lilo and Stitch kind of go hand in hand. Kim Possible, I felt, was a little bit less jokey, and it was just kind of cool. And it was like a very cool show to watch because you got to see this girl who was kind of hot to beat up another girl who was also kind of hot. And they just did cool stuff. And I appreciated that, and still do appreciate that with Kim Possible, because Shigo is hot. Now, my babysitter's a vampire. S tier. I love that show. Yeah, it's just great. It's just a great show. Season 1 is spectacular. The movie is great. Season 2, they changed up who sings the theme song, and that did not go over very well with me. But overall, it was very good. I like the dynamic between Ethan and Sarah. I hate the cliffhanger that it landed on. The nasty, filthy, awful cliffhanger that it landed on. But that's okay. That's okay sometimes, because what else got a Mighty Med? Mighty Med also got a cliffhanger, and that's S tier as well, because I would murder a man to see these shows continue, you know. Lastly, we've got Kik Butowsky. I feel like they played it up to be a show about this daredevil kid, and you were just gonna watch him do stunts, but then it ended up being a good show with like a story to it a little bit, you know. And he actually went through scenarios, and I appreciated that. I like watching Kik Butowsky. We are going to rank all of these now. Worst Disney show of all time: Crash and Bernstein. Horrible. I hate that show. Then, I mean, these are all just so bad that it's hard to rank them. I'm in the band after that, probably. Then maybe, then I think Bizarrevark, Jonas. Okay. I think that's a good F tier. The worst out of these is honestly probably Mr. Young. After that, I didn't do it. Labret's Elite Force, maybe? Or maybe Randy Cunningham, 9th Grade Ninja. I didn't like either of these. I think that one is a little bit better than Elite Force. Then maybe Bunked. Then, oh no, Kirby Buckets is definitely worse than Bunked. Kirby Buckets is, yeah, this deserves down here. And honestly, bump this one up. Yeah, that's good. I'm happy with this. This is good, because That's So Raven, again, is just a personal thing. Phil of the Future, I can't really speak on because I don't really remember it. But I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to leave it at the bottom of C tier, because why not? Out of all of these, Best Friends Whenever is easily the best. Honestly, probably Wander Over Yonder. No, Corey in the House is better than that. Best Friends Whenever, Corey in the House, Wander Over Yonder. Pair of Kings, Hannah Montana. Casey Undercover. No, Shake It Up is better than Hannah Montana. And Pair of Kings. Shake It Up goes up here. Yeah, I'm feeling this list. This list is good. Plenty with a Chance is probably the worst. After that, probably Lizzie McGuire, honestly. Switch Lilo and Stitch and Kim Possible. Kim Possible, honestly, is probably going to end up here. Girl Meets World is better than Boy Meets World, in my opinion, because I grew up with it, and it's just easier to rank them like that, in my eyes. Because, again, I grew up with it, and I have more fond memories with it, so at least I have a better connection with Girl Meets World than Boy Meets World. Liv and Maddie is not better than Austin and Ally. Fishhooks is probably the best out of B tier, honestly. I love Fishhooks so much. Kik Butowsky is probably the worst of this. Then Even Stevens, I think this is fair. Honestly, I think I kind of ranked this good already. Kicking It probably belongs like here, though. Switch these two around and switch these two around. And honestly, no, leave that like that and leave this like this. And now, the moment we have all been waiting for. We are going to see S tier and the top 3 Disney Channel shows of all time. Okay, the worst out of this list, Ant Farm. Easy, right? Still amazing though, because it's an S tier. All of them are good. After just above that, God, it's so hard for me to even like think. You know what I mean? After that is probably Sweet Life on Deck. Very good. But yeah, just not as good as the other ones. After that, Wizards of Waverly Place. No, Mighty Med belongs there. And then Wizards. Gravity Falls. And then This Is Good. Number 1 best Disney show, Phineas and Ferb. Second best, Good Luck Charlie. Third best is My Babysitter's a Vampire. Worst is Crash and Bernstein. I don't think that's really like hard at all.